So, I have just got done watching the 15th episode of Star Wars: The Bad Batch, and now it is time to review it. So, yeah, join me, Lucamus Prime, and my best mate, Oppo Ranscisis, as we review the episode together. So, yeah. Anyway, cue the intro. Alright guys, so as always I'm going to Oppo Ranscisis, aka Alexander, share his thoughts on the episode first. So yeah, and if you're interested guys, please consider subscribing to the channel to give him some support. So I'll have a link down below in the description, please you guys to go check him out and go subscribe to him. So yeah, anyway, take it away, Oppo.
Hello there. This is Oppo Ranscisis. And what a fantastic episode of The Bad Batch this was. The penultimate episode of Season 1, which apparently it was renewed for Season 2, which is, I guess, very good news to me. I really enjoyed the series so far. And this episode was no exception. I think it was pretty decent. First of all, as we always go, I don't really go in order of the episodes, so let's just go with whatever I'm thinking about at the moment. Let's start with Crosshair. And Crosshair does not have his chip. He does not have his chip at all, frankly. I predicted that, and you know why I predicted that? Because they kept saying, it's because of his chip, it's because of the chip, it's because of the chip, because of the chip, because of the chip, because of the chip, because of the chip. And when something is brought up so often, it's obvious that the director wants us to believe it. You know, there's this famous saying, I believe, when something is said often enough, people actually start to believe it. And the case is here, and I noticed it's being said so often that it's probably this big twist is gonna happen that he does not have his chip, and I was right. Next, I do want to bring up that Crosshair's is what he was saying about how, like, you left me did not make much sense to me, because he was the one who was attacking them, so they couldn't have taken, surely he understands, surely he's smart enough to figure out that they couldn't have taken him because he was attacking them and he wanted to kill them, and I don't think that motivation made any sense. I don't know, they tried to flesh him out, I feel, but I didn't get that at all, frankly, when I was watching the episode. It didn't make much sense to me what he was talking about. Then I do want to say that the final scene of Kamino being destroyed was so powerful. It really was. It was the music, the intense atmosphere, the lighting, the colors, the frames, the shots, how it was so many different shots quickly put together, very quick cuts, and all of the sound, how epic it was, how powerful, how sad. It was really an effective scene, much more effective to me at least than, for instance, the destruction of Jedha. So I think it was very, very great what they did with the Kamino destruction. And you know, since there was no mention of Lamisu, I think it's even safer to assume now that he is dead. But I also, in regards to Steven Stanton, I grew to like Steven Stanton more as Starkin, but I did not at all like how he said, "You may fire when ready," because he said, "You may fire when ready." So he said it like that. In fact, the R was more like, "You may fire when ready." Ready. It was more like, and there was a pause, and that's not supposed to be there. That's not the way Peter Cushing says it. So, you know, such a famous phrase, such a famous sentence, such a famous quote from A New Hope, you can't do it wrong, otherwise everything falls apart, and he did do it in the wrong manner, unfortunately. Which is upsetting to me, because I think most people know how that quote sounds. I mean, you look at Nick Jameson, I believe Nick Jameson said that, right? He did it much better. At Guy Henry, he did it much better. So many impressionists on YouTube even do it much better. In fact, if you even look at Star Wars Audio Comics, they did it much better. So I don't know why Steven didn't do it the right way. But I really liked the tension in this episode. It was constantly, there was that feeling of dread always during their mission. It was so horrifying. I mean, literally. I was worrying for the characters, and it was very worrying for me personally. Um, Now, what else? Oh, it was good to see that AZ is on our side. Because I didn't know if he was truly on our side. Because the last time, after he was shot by Amiga, then when he was restoring Crosshair in episode 3, he was kind of all like this. And I felt like they reprogrammed him. But he's back to his charming and funny personality once again. And I really think Benjamin Diskin does it wonderfully. I can't praise him enough for it. What else? Is that it? Is that it? Is that all I have to say? I think that's most apologies for people screaming. That's at the seashore, actually. I can show you later on. But no, it was the colors, the tone, it was a very dark episode, and I really liked how they executed that darkness here. It felt very realistic and powerful. But I think that's mostly it. Mostly what I wanted to cover. And it was unfortunate to see Kamino destroyed. I think that's what we must take away the most from this episode.
Alright, now it's up to me to review this episode, so yeah, now. This episode for me was definitely a very good episode, and it's also confirmed to be the first part of the show's finale. And as well, guys, as a bit of a heads up, the show's been renewed for Series 2, so that's pretty cool, isn't it? Didn't expect that to happen, but it has done, so yeah, now. So what happens in the episode then? So the episode begins with a class shuttle, I think it's a roll class, travelling through hyperspace. And we see Hunter is captive, and he gets visited by Crosshair. Hunter asks where they're going, and Crosshair tells him that, he and the squad will soon find out. He then takes Hunter's comms to use as like a bait to lure the rest of the squad into a trap. But Hunter says that the Bad Batch will know that it's a trap. But Crosshair counters that they'll still come for him before he leaves. And then Hunter's left behind with the two elites who are working for Crosshair. So yeah. Now on Odd Mantel, Echo is making repairs to Maraud, and Omega wants to go and rescue Hunter. She's very impatient about it. But Echo says she's got to focus, and yeah, he's got a point because focusing is very important in missions. So yeah, if they focus, they'll have a better chance of rescuing him. So yeah. And Sek is, of course, working on the systems. And Wrecker mentions that Gregor has been left with Sid. So, yeah, we didn't see Sid in the episode, sadly. She was off screen, but yeah. But other than that, though, guys, after that, before they can leave, however, they receive a transmission which is from Hunter's comm. And Tech realises that Hunter is no longer imprisoned in Daro. Instead, he's somewhere else. So, yeah. And they deduce that, he's somewhere else, and they go off to rescue him. Now, meanwhile, on Kamino, the Imperial shuttle which Hunter is on arrives there in Tipoca City, and Hunter is marched out by Crosshair and his elite squad. They're greeted by Rampart and the clones. And Crosshair tells Rampart that he plans to intercept the rest of the Bad Batch on arrival. And Rampart says to Hunter that the destruction his squad caused on Ryloth got his attention, and Rampart leaves Hunter to Crosshair. Now, meanwhile, one of the elite squad questions Crosshair's motives with his old squad, and she says that she doesn't trust any of the squad, but Rampart says that if Crosshair's plan fails, none of them will be a problem anymore, and he tells her to keep an eye on things now. So all the Marauders travelling with hyperspace to get to where Hunter is meant to be. Tech warns that the Empire is using them to lure him into a trap, but he is uncertain why they're doing that. But Wrecker says there's no turning back and they've got to rescue Hunter. And Omega is certain where they are because of the coordinates. It's taken them to a landing pad they can use in Tipoca City. And Echo warns that they'll be swarming with troopers, which is understandable because it is full of the Empire, isn't it? But Omega says this one won't be, and they've got to trust her. So they arrive on Kamino to discover that Omega's right, there's no troops at this landing pad which comes out of the water. And they're wondering how they're going to get to a city, but Omega says they're going to use a tube system. So she activates it, and they enter it, and it's like a spherical carriage in a way, yeah. Not like a train or anything like that, it's like a spherical carriage, and they go through. Like some sort of elevator shaft, really. And then after that, they get in there, and now meanwhile, Hunter is walking through a corridor, and he notices that the clones aren't there, and neither are Kaminoans. So it looks like, guys, Lama Su is indeed dead, maybe. So yeah, we didn't see any Kaminoans in this episode at all. And Crosshair then wonders why he's caring about them, but Hunter observes that Crosshair is not concerned about the Empire phasing out the clones. And Crosshair points a gun at Hunter, saying, not the ones that matter, so yeah. So it looks like Crosshair doesn't care about the clones, only the ones that matter, as he says, so yeah. Now, elite squads then tell Crosshair that the ship Marauder's been detected, and so Crosshair knows they're here, and he sets up a trap. So the rest of the batch and Omega enter the lab rooms, and where Omega was created. So yeah, as were the rest of the Bad Batch, and they then discover there's an intruder in the room, and it's none other than AZI-3. You know, the little droid voiced by Benjamin Disk, and yeah, he's here. And he's really to see them, and so yeah, and they get reunited, and then they bring the droid with them to help them. So that's pretty cool that, you know, Zed gets a chance to help them. Then we get a bit of a bitter reunion, guys, because the Bad Batch travel through a platform, and as they enter, they avoid the patrols, and eventually they're led into a training room. So yeah, which is where Hunter's comm was seen. Then they end up finding themselves surrounded by Crosshair and the squad, and Hunter is their captive. So we then get a pretty tense conversation here, guys. And after that, Crosshair asks where Omega is, because Omega's hiding somewhere. You know, waiting for them, and it's been told to contact Rex if things go wrong. But yeah, so after that, Wrecker sends a signal to Omega, the same signal, and well, I think it was Echo. Yeah, Omega doesn't want to abandon her team, but Omega has an idea, which is to activate the training droid. So yeah, they get activated, and then they have a fight. An elite says they're running out of time, but Crosshair orders them to hold their positions. Hunter asks if Crosshair intended to lure them here in order to kill them, but Crosshair says he has no intention of killing them despite their treason. Hunter counters that they are loyal to each other and not the Empire, and Crosshair says Hunter was not loyal to him and he's not forgotten. But Crosshair surprisingly gives Hunter a Bad Batch a chance. So yeah. So after this, Crosshair surprisingly, did not take him captive. Instead, he ordered his own troops to stand down. And he invites the Bad Batch to brothers again. The troopers refuse to surrender, so Crosshair takes them all down by firing a ricochet at them, which kills all of them very swiftly. Then all of a sudden, the training droids then arrive in, and then we get a pretty nice little fight between them. And one of the elite troopers who was not there notices this and assumes that Cross has lost control of the situation. So she informs Admiral Rampart about this. And Rampart says all forces must be pulled out, and he says to her to let the clones die together. So then after this, Bad Batch and Crosshair join forces to take down the droid, while ES2 escapes on a shuttle which takes her to a Venator Star Destroyer. Then after this, Rampart contacts Tarkin on the Star Destroyer, and Tarkin asks about the Chief Scientist, but Rampart says the Chief Scientist and the cloning technology are now under Imperial control, and then we get to hear Tarkin say his famous line, "You may fire when ready." And then the Star Destroyer moves into position, and it begins to open fire on the city. So, now, before this, however, Hunter holds a pistol at Crosshair, offers him to remove his inhibitor chip, but we get a twist where basically Crosshair reveals that his chip was already removed a long time ago. So apparently, guys, him saying, "Good soldiers follow orders," was not the chip making him say, it was him himself wanting to follow his orders. So, yeah. But before Crosshair can shoot in like a standoff, Hunter stuns him. So it looks like Hunter's learned how to take care of standoffs after his fight campaign. Omega hugs Hunter and apologises, and he apologises for bringing her back to Kamino because she didn't want to be here, but Omega replies that he did the same for her. Now after this, they decide to take Crosshair with them, But then taking Mom's Hunter, they're near to descending onto Tipoca City and they need to leave. So they take Crosshair with them. But then, as the clones are leaving, unfortunately, the city gets destroyed by the Star Destroyers. So yeah. And they're caught from bomb and they retreat back into the city. And then the city begins to sink into the oceans of Kamino. So yeah. And then I think the next episode will of course be the finale. So yeah, to be continued. But yeah. The episode was really good, guys. I really enjoyed it, and you know, I think the visuals were really great in this. And I love how in the shots of Kamino we got to hear the Kamino theme from Attack of the Clones finally back. It felt so nostalgic to hear it, and I think some of the shots of Kamino City felt so much like Attack of the Clones due to the visuals being so great. I felt like I was rewatching Attack of the Clones. It was so good. But yeah. The twist about Crosshair's chip already being removed was pretty surprising, because I thought, you know, he was genuinely following his chip, but apparently not. So yeah, it was also nice to see Tarkin in a little bit of a cameo appearance again, saying his famous line as well. But yeah, this was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. So guys, this was me reviewing episode 15 of a Bad Batch titled Return to Kamino. Really good episode. So yeah, so you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also be sure to leave comments what you guys thought of Bad Batch if you've seen it. Also, be sure to subscribe to Oppo, like I told you to start the video, because he deserves support. Also, be sure to join the team by pressing subscribe for more videos coming in the future. And may the Force be with you always.